At the beginning of this year, I really dove into comic books and the really, really vast world that this hobby is. I found myself for the first time with consistent access to a really good local shop, nothing that I've ever been around in my life. So I've got with me a big stack of examples, and I'm going to share some of the things I've learned because I know that they're helpful because they would have helped me. First things first, I do want to start by saying please don't be intimidated by your local shop. I promise you that every single staff member and employee there is just somebody who really, really loves their hobby and wants to spread that and share it with people like you who are interested. So go in, shop around, ask them questions. You'll probably end up on a first name basis with them, and that can only help you get your questions answered. One of the first things that really, really confused me, and I knew I was just deep in it right off the bat, was numbering. So a trick that I learned very early on that was very, very helpful is how to read the barcode. So for like this image book right here, you have your normal barcode number, and then you've got this smaller number. It's a 5-digit number just to the side of it. On this first issue of Blood and Thunder, that number is 00111. That means the first 3 digits, 001, are the issue number of this book. This is the first issue. That 4th digit, which is just a 1, means that this is the first cover. This is an A cover. This is the like standard cover for this book specifically. And then that 5th digit, that last single 1, means that it was a first printing of this book. Numbering gets me into the concept of legacy numbering. I knew what a reboot was, and I knew that series often just picked jumping on points to label their books as number 1 so that new readers would feel less intimidated picking that up off the shelf, as opposed to it being like number 972. You think you're missing a lot there, but if they mark that book as a number 1, you understand intuitively that you could pick it up and you could start there. As a kid, I specifically liked these trades of The Amazing Spider-Man worldwide, and I didn't realize until, as an adult, me recently picking these up and trying to find them again, that while this may be volume 1, issues 1 through 5 of The Amazing Spider-Man worldwide, it's actually issues 757 through 761 of The Amazing Spider-Man. So this year, I noticed that there was going to be a new number 1 for The Amazing Spider-Man. That had me really excited because I had access to a local shop and I could start reading and actively collecting ASM again in single issues for the first time ever. Right now, that series is on number 10. 11 will come out. But the 11th issue, as branded in the store, is actually going to be the 975th issue. Speaking of information maybe being missing on the covers of comic books, something that I really didn't know what to make of were these covers where you have no title, no team, no numbers, no price, nothing. Like, how are you supposed to see this and know that it's what you need in the store? I didn't for a very long time until actually this specific copy of Exquisite Corpses issue number 2 popped up in my pull box, and I asked the worker at the comic book shop, "Excuse me, what is this one?" And they were like, "Oh, here you go." So make friends with them. But I found out that this is called a version variant, and it is just a different way to showcase a cover art and maybe highlight a specific creator, which is really, really cool. And these look great when people have them framed on their walls, or they look really cool when you get signatures on them, but they are absolutely useless for finding information that you need if you're trying to actively pick up a series and you didn't know this curveball was gonna come. Part of what makes this whole experience so cool is you've got your virgin variants, you've got your blanks, you've got your foils, all on top of just having a typical run of like A, B, and C alternate covers. So the world of covers is actually really crazy, and if you're like me, sometimes you just get what you get, and sometimes you luck out and find something that you would rather have over an A cover, or sometimes you just want to stick to a theme, and that's where it really comes in handy to maybe just commit to consistently getting the A covers of a series you like, because you know that they're gonna look the same and they're gonna go together really well. And I will say, sometimes getting a specific cover is just a matter of getting to your local comic book shop early. This does lead me really nicely to the app Comic Geeks, which I found way more recently than when I jumped back into reading comics this year. And it is an app where you can catalog your collection. You can just scan the covers of your comics and it will catalog them for you and organize them for you. You can also tell the app what you're actively reading, and it will pull a weekly report for you at the end or beginning of each week, telling you what should be coming out that you're interested in specifically. So that's really helpful when it comes to knowing what's coming out each week, because books are on totally different schedules. It helps when you know going into the shop what you're going to be paying for your pull list or how much money you're going to be spending. And it also helps you look ahead and see what all of your cover options are. So you can click on a comic in there and you can see all of the variants, and you can see if you like something that might be worth heading to that shop early for, or maybe pre-ordering. In all of my earlier comic book reading, trades were what I could easily get my hands on and the most consumable way for me to have access to comic books. And so like I was collecting series trade by trade. But now that I've been getting into single issues, I found a lot of stuff that I didn't really know I was missing by reading in trades. Yes, it's really nice to be able to breeze through 5 issues at once and then be on to the next book, but sometimes when you're reading a single issue, there's a lot more perks to it. Like, I really enjoy when you have like a little bit of a recap from bringing you up to speed in the series. I enjoy getting little notes from the editors. I honestly even like seeing what is on ads inside of these. Like, right now we're in an era where a lot of the books have ads for the Fantastic Four movie or the Fantastic Four soundtrack, and I like seeing that creativity in that weird kind of niche. But another thing that I found I really, really, really enjoy is reading the letter columns that come in single issues, where readers who are reading the book monthly or bi-weekly or whatever, you can mail in your comments and you can put in like your critique, your thoughts, and the team will get back to you. And I think that's really cool. I don't write in, but I just truly love seeing what other people are finding in the books that I'm liking. And it feels like a greater attachment to this whole community within comic collecting and reading. And I think that that is so fun and so special. And when I was reading trades, I had no idea that these letter columns existed. One particularly tiny detail that I had missed out on by consistently reading trades and collections was that with a lot of books, when you pick up a number 1, that issue is going to be longer. It's going to have more pages. And at the very beginning of my new journey into comic books, I passed up a first printing of Bug Wars issue 1 because it felt like a weird funky paper to me and I didn't really like it. But that was actually because this issue is about twice as thick as your normal book, and so it had like a nice sturdier cover to it, and it freaked me out, and I put it back on the shelf, and then I had to wait weeks for my local shop to order me in a second printing. That's why it's so helpful to kind of like learn these little tips and tricks and figure out what you're looking for, figure out what you like, and figure out what you're holding, what you're looking at, what you're seeing, and what you're coming across, because you never know when you're gonna want to kick yourself. When you walk into a comic book shop, there are so many colors, there are so many characters, there are so many things to look at that it's really hard to focus in on and figure out what is something that like is an outlier or what is interesting to you. And the more that you spend time solving these little questions and answering these like curiosities that you have, the more you get to know and the deeper you dig into it, and then the more hooked you are. And I'll leave you with this. My current endeavor, because there's always more to explore, there are always questions to be answered, and there are always series to discover, new and old, is that my current endeavor of exploration is digital comics. Sometimes it's nice to not fall behind or not accidentally skip a book if your store didn't get it in stock or you couldn't get there in time for it, and maybe you should read it digitally. I've been testing out Hoopla. I think that my laptop is not the best way to be reading them, so I kind of want to explore like, is a tablet good? Is your phone better? The advantage I see to a phone is maybe it's nice because you can read your books on your commute and not worry about damaging them in your bag. I don't know. It's just something that I want to explore, that I know will fall into a certain category of personal preference for me, and something that I think is a tool that really helps more people read. So that's what I'm up to.